Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the garage. So tonight on project, let's get the race truck to the track before the snowfall and before the track closes, which could honestly be any day now. We are putting our transmission in. So our Muldoon's 48RE is on the trans jack, ready to go. We got our Suncoast converter and our Sancher input shaft looking good. So I already have some fluid in the converter, and I have our bracketry on the transmission. Now we have the bracket for our the bracket and shift lever for our ratchet shifter installed, which we'll go over when we get to it. I don't know if that part of this will be tonight, but we're mainly focusing on getting the transmission, torque converter, transfer case all bolted up into the truck, ready to go. And we'll just kind of see how far we get. You know, we got drive shafts to do, we got brackets, we got all kinds of stuff. We have the flex plate, the torque converter bolts, so on and so forth. So really guys, this is something we've done, well, I don't know, I don't want to count how many times we've done it, but we've had this trans in and out quite a bit. So without further ado, let's do it. Let's get this transfer case and torque converter on here, get this puppy slapped up in there. So our transmission's in, it's sitting on our cross member. Cross member's bolted up, our mount's all bolted up, transfer case is in. There might not be any footage of this because I did kick the camera over in the process and it said it couldn't recover the file, yada yada yada. It's in. I mean, you guys have seen it before. Basically just jack it up, get it in line. Don't use an impact to bolt the bell housing to the engine because there are dowels. So you want to bring it in with a ratchet, you know, so that way you can feel if anything's binding. You don't want to force it. But all our bell housing bolts are in and tight. I will have to remove the one because we have to put our dipstick tube in. And also, very critical, if you guys are ever changing a transmission out in your truck, the torque converter should be able to spin freely with the transmission in before it's bolted up. If you can't spin this, and you should definitely check it while you're doing it because it sits inside of the flex plate. If it doesn't spin, you got a problem. You got to figure it out, you know, fix it and all that. But definitely something to check before you go about it. But we got to bolt our torque converter up. We got front drive shaft, rear drive shaft, all kinds of miscellaneous stuff. Maybe we'll get to our ratchet shifter stuff. I don't know, but we're looking good. We got our trans lines we got to run, but the transmission is in, and now on to all the periphery stuff. Alright, so a lot of this stuff is kind of hard to really show you guys, as you can tell under the truck. But anyhow, we have our transmission fully installed. Our torque converter is bolted up to our flex plate. We have all our wires ran for our sensors, our trans pan sensor, our torque converter temperature sensor, our line pressure sensor over here is ran. Also, we have our transmission cooler lines ran up and over our bar to our trans cooler. Our front drive shaft is installed. Also, from these straps, you guys can see that our Suncoast trans blanket is installed. All that's good. All our wiring's done. Our fire punk anteater, our transmission controller, all those connections are made. Everything is up out of the way. We're looking good. The only thing we didn't install is our transfer case linkage, I guess you should say. Our linkage isn't installed because I can't find the clips, so I'm leaving that out until I get some new clips, just to keep that all, I don't want to put it in and forget about it, and then we go out on the track and now we can't shift the thing. So anyhow, all that's installed. Our rear drive shaft is installed. We can work on putting our drive shaft hoop in later. Our cage, built-in cage drive shaft hoop is looking good. We're pretty well centered on that. So that turned out well. All that stuff's done. We also have our transmission dipstick tube installed. Also, I put about 8 quarts in the pan. We're gonna wait until we can get the garage door open and running, get the engine running to get it filled properly, because, well, it's rather cold out and I don't feel like opening the garage door. So anyway, guys, the trans is all bolted up. It's installed. There's not really a whole lot left to do. We have that transfer case linkage that we need to install, but we need new clips for. All our wiring's done on the transmission. We just need to fill it properly, which entails starting the truck, letting the pump of the transmission push the fluid, which we need to have the truck in neutral for, but we don't have our shifter in yet. We will be installing our B&M ratchet shifter. It needs this cable in order to operate, and we'll go over all that. We're not going to do that tonight, but yeah, everything's bolted up. Everything's looking good. Really, there's not much left to do this thing. We're pretty close to getting to the track. Looking at the truck, obviously, visually, we need something back here. So we need our bed sides back on the truck. We need to hook up our battery disconnect lever, which we will do once we get the bed on and see if that will work how it is. We need to program our nitrous, get our tune file straightened out for the truck so it's running properly, because we're still having issues with that. We've made a few revisions here and there. It's getting better, but it's still not where it should be. But then we will also have to fill the transmission, like I said previously. But we are getting close. There's just a couple minute things and we're ready to go. So we're getting close, but we're also very close to the end of track season. So it's going to be, we're kind of fighting tooth and nail here to try and get this thing to track, and we're going to be splitting hairs to get there. I was talking to a couple friends today, and they're kind of like, why don't you just push this off and get all your winter work started? And well, I want to get the truck to the track. We might take it out, and I might say, you know what, just for an example, this shifter, I don't like where it's sitting, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I just want to get a couple of those things ironed out, give it a couple shakedown passes before we get into what we're going to be doing to the truck this winter. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed. I'm excited. Our Muldoon's trans is installed with our Suncoast converter and that fat Sancher input shaft, that solid input shaft. I'm excited to be running this. I think that will really take a lot of the pressure, if you will, of our past torque converter issues and input shaft issues, and really put that to bed so I don't have to worry about that. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Get out in your garage, get the wrenching on your truck.